Watching professional poker on television, it's one of those things where you just think, I could do that myself. However, the reality for 99.9% of us is, no, you probably can't. And really, it shows because professional poker players are able to sometimes walk away from a table with millions and millions of dollars in winnings. So it's one of those things where only the best of the best will walk away with that massive cash prize. However, how much money are we talking? And for a professional poker player, what is on the cards for you in the near future? Hello! Welcome to Brainspill, the laziest show on the internet. My name is Tank, and when you watch professional poker on television, you see that the poker players are sat at the table with massive stacks of chips and money all next to them, particularly if they're the winner and they're sat there with their massive prize pool. But the reality of the situation is this is all not really the case, because that money that poker player sat with doesn't keep it all. Normally. No. The reality is that for most players, the people making the real money aren't even the poker players themselves. Let me explain. I mean, yes, professional poker players do earn a good living from what they do, but the extortionate prize pools you see them win, normally they aren't the ones walking away with that. We need to talk about something called poker staking, a common act in the poker tournament business where people effectively put money down as an investment on a poker player in a tournament, betting that they're going to win, almost like backing a horse in a race. The poker player and the backer will negotiate a percentage price split, to which the backer takes the percentage of all the winnings made. So, if you bet on a player with a 10% stake and they win or cash, the buyer receives a percentage of the winnings pro rata to the investment. If the player loses, the buyer loses. Simple. Just bet on the horse that you think is going to do best. And no, I'm not saying that in any derogatory way. Backing the horse is the term that they use in the business for this very idea. So, why would anyone do this? Particularly if you're a poker player and you're going in there to win the big money. Why on earth would you give it to someone else? Well, the purpose of this is that the person putting down the stake is taking a gamble on bigger winnings, which, if we're talking about games at a high-end professional level, can be very rewarding if you back the right horse. The backer gives the poker player a guaranteed fixed sum of money, win or lose, which gives investors a way in without actually playing a single hand at the table. This actually has quite a lot of benefits in the fact that, particularly if you're a beginner player and you may not have a lot of funds yourself in order to put down such a risk in order to play at the table. Because of course you need a buy-in before you can enter the tournament. If you're new to the game and you put down your own money and you lose it, then, well, you're even worse than when you started. So these sorts of ideas are good because it means that the player goes into the tournament, win or lose, the person that has backed them is going to give them a fixed sum of money. Meaning that, well, of course you want to try your best, but if you don't win, that's fine. At least you won't take such a big financial hit because you have that investor behind you. And the investor, well, it's gambling, basically, at the end of the day. You back your horse, if they win, then fantastic. You could be making a lot of money. As you might imagine, entering tournaments can be no small feat, being that many games can run up to a couple of dollars, but when you get to a professional level, this can go into the hundreds, thousands, or tens of thousands of dollars just to enter a poker game. Even at the very highest level, you could be stumping in upwards of $1 million just to have a seat at the table. The returns on this can be really good, however, in that even footing a couple of $1,000s, the returns at the highest end of the placements, say the top 10 players in the game, may even get a return in some cases of 200 to 300 times what they put in. Yes, these tournaments will have a lot of players involved, but at the same time, the more people that buy in, the greater the pot is at the end and better for the players that end up on the higher side of the leaderboard. And yes, whilst the players themselves don't get the potential 200 to 300 times payouts, they have their fixed sum, and if they get anything else on top more, great. This is basically just a way to mitigate risk, as far as reasonably possible. I would say that even though I'm explaining all of this to you, gamble responsibly, kids. I am not going to be the one responsible when you start trying to back people to enter poker tournaments for millions of dollars. Maybe this was the most appropriate card for me after all. So yes, just by getting a backer, they are giving you something regardless. I imagine saving yourself a couple of $100,000 is a very liberating thing. Yes, you could get a backer, flop the game and pay your way out. But then who's going to back you in the future? There are different ways to stake. You can stake specific games, tournaments, or even agree to a long-term deal where you might agree to back every game a player enters for a period of time, in which the percentage split is normally 50-50. I didn't even know this existed until I saw someone talk about staking when playing a poker game, and curious old me was like, what's that? You need to teach me this right now. Which is crazy, and I do enjoy playing poker games with my friends, but there's a whole business model behind this entire industry that I didn't even know existed. The reason why this is probably not very well known about is that staking would normally happen in closed circles or between other poker players who have the capital to back other players to create more ways to create wealth. But now, many people are trying to open up this market to the public, so your average Joe can join a staking pool to try and earn some income that way. However, despite what some people might tell you from someone who by no means is a professional poker player or a financial advisor, is that apparently staking in this is quite high risk. Very high risk, some might say. So I wouldn't just ape into this without doing your research, or at least having some fundamental knowledge of what the hell's going on here. The whole staking thing, yes, whilst primarily being a way to earn money, it's also used as a long-term investment for potentially someone that you're backing. If you're saying that you're going to back someone for a long period, it's in your interest that that player is basically in the best position they can to earn as much money as possible. Meaning that, well, if you want your poker player to actually give you a return, you need to kind of make them a good poker player. So for many people, they might take someone on board and try and teach them how to be a professional poker player, which works dividends, particularly if you're able to get someone from the ground up, get them to a stage where they're able to win a lot of money, and then your investment was totally worth it. It's really in both parties' best interests that the players go in being knowledgeable, experienced, and ready to go. So it might be beneficial for a player and their career, to which they may sacrifice a percentage of their winnings, but walk away with the knowledge and ability to be able to get to the higher stakes tournaments with even bigger payouts. That's it, people. Invest in yourself, or just get some rich backer to back it for you. Either way, it pays dividends. Allegedly. So, I know what you're thinking. What happens at the end? Because surely the player who you've backed is either going to win more games and earn you money, or they're going to lose more games and your investment has gone down the drain. Well, in a lot of these business relationships, there is a way that they finally determine how this works, particularly if your player has lost more games. It's a risk at the end of the day. You might back someone and they might just be unlucky, or not very good at poker. Either way, your judgment was not on the mark that one time. So, if you backed a player and they've lost more than one, they are in what's called make-up. If you're $100,000 down, you gotta see if you can make up that $100,000 back. Basically, you've got to enter more tournaments to try and win money. The difficult position is that when any backing agreement ends, what happens with this money is generally, if the backer ends the agreement, they forfeit any money owed. But if the player exits the agreement on their own terms, their poker career is pretty much done. This, whilst being a big gamble in itself, is all part of the game. I mean, you're a professional poker player for a reason. You're going in there to win, and if you can't win, then maybe you shouldn't be a professional poker player. Just saying. And I would say that they know the risks, and well, gambling is the game. That is literally what they're doing. They're gambling. This is just a different type of gambling. This is a little known thing if you're not into poker, but it's always interesting to know how the business operates. So the next time you see something on the news saying a player walked away with a multi-million-dollar prize, you know that there's probably more going on than first meets the eye. If you like the video, be sure to like and subscribe. If you want to be notified as soon as I upload my next video, be sure to hit the bell button. And if you've got any ideas for what topics you'd like me to discuss next, let me know down in the comments below. As always, sources used in the video will be in the description. Thinking about this, I don't think professional poker's for me, but hey, you know what? If it's in the cards, it's in the cards. I'll see you guys in the next video. Fantastic.